She's alive.
Impossible. We buried her.
We buried an empty casket. Then who has been collecting her pension? Say something, Papa.
Before this story begins, tell us which city you are watching from in the comments. And if you've ever suspected someone in your own family was lying to you for years, type yes before you even finish reading this. Listen carefully, because this story does not slow down to comfort you. 11 years ago, a woman named Folktale Adeyemi walked out of her own duplex in Ikoyi and vanished so completely that police closed the file in 14 months. No body, no blood, no struggle. Just a diary line pressed so hard into the paper, it tore through to the next page. Tonight, I finally ask Madam Yes. Her daughter, Titi, was 19. Her husband, Debo, cried at the memorial so convincingly that 3 separate newspapers called him a man destroyed by grief. He was never destroyed. He was relieved. Titi did not know that yet. For 11 years, she believed the story everyone around her repeated so often, it calcified into truth. Her mother abandoned her family, chasing some superstitious nonsense about a woman in the market who granted wishes. Selfish, unstable, gone. That was the story Debo told at every dinner, every anniversary, every time Titi dared to ask a question he did not like. But questions were Titi's whole career now. She hosted the most dangerous nighttime slot on Freedom Radio, the one where corrupt contractors called in to beg forgiveness live on air. And 6 months ago, an anonymous voice note landed in her inbox at 2:47 a.m. 11 seconds long, a woman's voice cracked with age saying only, "Ask him what he did the week before she disappeared." Titi did not sleep again that week. She started where every good story that ruins a family starts. In the paperwork nobody expects a grieving daughter to check. 8 months after Folashade vanished, before any court had even declared her legally dead, a life insurance payout of 42 million naira was quietly released into a private account. Debo's signature was on it, so was a doctor's letter Titi had never heard of, dated 2 days before her mother disappeared, describing a terminal diagnosis that existed nowhere in any hospital record she could find. Her father knew his wife would disappear before she ever left the house. Titi's hands shook so badly reading the file that she dropped her coffee across it, and for one long, sick moment, watching the brown stain spread across her mother's forged death certificate, she understood that the man who raised her had spent 11 years lying to her face at every single birthday. She almost went to him first, almost screamed the truth into his kitchen and let the fight destroy them both that same night. Instead, she went to find the one person whose name had started all of this. The house behind the hibiscus hedge did not appear on any map, any electricity bill, any land registry Titi could pull. Neighbors swore it had not existed the year before. She stood outside it in the rain for 11 minutes before the door opened on its own. The woman inside was not old, not young. Plain white wrapper, no shoes, eyes that looked at Titi like she had been standing in that doorway for 11 years, waiting for exactly this Tuesday, this rain, this daughter. "You are Madam Yes." That is what people call the answer, not the one. A pause that felt like it had teeth in it. Sit down before the truth finds you standing and knocks you over. Inside, one wooden table, one unlit candle that somehow still cast a shadow across the wall, a mirror so old that the silver had rotted black at the edges, reflecting the room a half-second late, so that Titi watched herself sit down after she had already sat down, like her own body was one beat behind her own life. "My mother came here," Titi said, voice shaking. 11 years ago. What did she ask you? The same thing every terrified woman asks me, dressed up in different words. Madam Yes did not blink, not once. She asked if she would survive her husband. The room went cold in a way that had nothing to do with the rain outside. Survive him? Titi repeated. Not leave him. Survive him? Your father did not want a wife who kept asking why the money moved the way it moved, why the insurance papers arrived the week her health was supposedly failing, why a woman as strong as an ox suddenly needed a terminal diagnosis no doctor had given her. Madam Yes's voice never rose, and that was the most frightening part. Your father came to me first, Titi, 2 months before your mother ever did. Titi's whole body went numb. What did he ask you? He asked if there was a way to make his wife disappear without anyone looking at him twice. And you said, I always say yes. The universe does not lie about what is possible. It only refuses to promise you'll survive the shape your wish takes when it finally arrives. Your father wanted a disappearance. He got a wife who learnt from a stranger in a bungalow exactly what his husband had already paid to have done to her, and ran before he could finish it. Titi could not breathe. He was going to kill her. He was going to make it look like sickness, slow, undeniable, sympathetic. Madam Yes finally leaned forward, and for the first time, her ancient calm cracked into something that looked terrifyingly like pity. Your mother did not abandon you, child. She fled a house where a diagnosis had already been purchased for her, and she has spent 11 years too afraid to come back and claim her own daughter, because the man hunting her documents was the same man tucking you in at night. Somewhere behind Titi, the candle finally lit itself. She found her mother 2 weeks later in Cape Coast, Ghana, older, thinner, hands shaking around a garden trowel, and the reunion was not the tearful, gentle thing Titi had imagined for 11 years. It was her mother collapsing onto the porch floor, sobbing, "He's still looking for me, isn't he?" before Titi had even said hello. It was Folashode showing her the burn scar on her forearm from the night she'd overheard Debo on the phone with a private doctor negotiating the price of a diagnosis that would kill her peacefully, believably, within the year. It was Titi realizing her mother had not been living in Cape Coast in peace. She had been living in Cape Coast in hiding, checking every unfamiliar car on her street for 11 straight years. He collected 42 million naira 8 months after you vanished, on a diagnosis that was never real. Her mother went so still, Titi thought she'd stopped breathing. Then he's going to notice the moment I resurface, and he is not a man who leaves loose ends breathing twice. Titi flew back to Lagos with a recording device sewn into the lining of her jacket, and a rage in her chest she had never let herself feel about her father in 11 years of carefully performed grief. She walked into the Ikoyi duplex, the same one her mother had walked out of, and sat across from Titi Adeyemi at the same dining table where he had told her 1,000 times that her mother had chosen selfishness over her own child. I found the insurance file. I found the diagnosis letter with a doctor who doesn't exist. I found Madam Yes. Her father's face did not fall. It hardened, the way a man's face hardens when he has rehearsed this exact conversation for 11 years and finally gets to deliver the line. You would take the word of a witch in a mud house over your own father? I'd take the word of my mother, Titi said, who is alive, Papa, who has been alive this whole time, hiding from you. For 1 full second, something moved behind Debo's eyes that was not grief and was not shock. It was calculation. The exact same calculation Titi realized with a nausea that nearly buckled her, that must have crossed his face 11 years ago when a stranger in a bungalow told him yes. She's coming back to Lagos, Titi said, standing, voice shaking but not breaking. And every document you signed to steal 42 million naira off a murder you didn't finish is going out on my show tomorrow night live. unless you are already gone by morning. Her father did not deny it. He simply smiled. Small, cold, familiar, in a way that 11 years of birthdays and Sunday dinners rearranged themselves in Titi's memory into something monstrous, and said the only sentence he had left. Ask your Madam Yes what happens to daughters who dig up grave that were dug for someone else's protection. He was gone from the duplex by sunrise. No one has confirmed where. Titi's mother came home to Lagos 3 weeks later under police protection. And the segment that aired that Thursday night on Freedom Radio broke the station's call-in lines for 6 straight hours. Somewhere in the flood of listeners screaming for Titi Adeyemi's arrest, one message came through that Titi has never been able to stop thinking about, from a number she did not recognize, sent at 2:47 a.m., the exact same minute the very first note voice had arrived 6 months earlier. You got your yes. Now find out what it costs you. Titi has not slept properly since. Because somewhere in Lagos, a bungalow behind a hibiscus hedge that should not exist on any map may already be waiting for the next person desperate enough to walk through its door. And Titi cannot stop wondering what she herself asked for the night she chose to knock that she has still not been made to pay for. If you found out today that someone in your own family had quietly paid to make another family member disappear, and everyone around you had spent years lying to your face about it, would you burn that relationship to the ground on the spot, or would some part of you still protect them because they raised you? Type yes if you'd expose them without hesitation. Type no if you think you'd hesitate, and tell us which city you are watching from, because someone in your comments has a story just like this one, and they are terrified to post it first. Watch out for the part 2 of this story to know where Titi's father disappeared to and the cause for which Titi's mother was gone. See you in the next part.